Another reason, passenger and freight operators incentivized to grow the market using commercial nous to attract extra customers. People shifting from their car to trains because of changing finances and mindsets. Work increasingly migrating from edge of town industrial estates to downtown offices. But despite these huge advances and the positive business environment, there is still much to do. Too often, trains arrive late. The experience of some passengers is not good enough. Maintaining the growth in revenue is crucial to the continuation of this vital public service. There is much we need to do to continue improving and modernising the railway and building the trust of our customers. And you can help us do that. First, let me tell you what we are doing to run a better railway for passengers and freight customers. Working more collaboratively, the industry is finding solutions to cross-industry challenges and planning long-term, which means extra services, 170,000 more rush hour seats into London, a 20% increase, or our £1 billion North of England programme, delivering new, faster and more frequent services between major northern cities. New digital technology to create a space to run more services on the network, focusing more than ever on punctuality, a safer, greener railway, moving more goods by rail. And greater collaboration also means better journeys, simpler to use, easier to understand. Smart card technology benefiting 700,000 passengers. Smart ticketing being developed to make it easier to travel across northern England. And better journeys by improving stations and trains. 3,000 new carriages on the way, making trains and stations more accessible. And greater collaboration means better value for customers and taxpayers. More money from every pound spent and encouraging train travel. Discounted tickets now accounting for almost half of all fare income. 170% increase in journeys taken on rail cards. Over 1 million cheaper advance fares sold each week. So better services, better journeys and better value. That is our ambition. And as we do so, our aim is also to build even greater levels of trust among the British public. Next one, please.
Yeah.
There we go. For trust is key to our success. In research out last year, Transport Focus, the independent passenger watchdog, found that passengers are broadly as positive towards the rail industry as they are to supermarkets and airlines, and I'm relieved to say higher than towards banks or energy companies. Trust, the watchdog found, consists of 3 elements: service, relationship, and judgment. Train companies not only need to get the basic service right day to day, they also need to put effort into building long-term relationships with their passengers so that they have confidence that their trains will arrive on time, but also that they are receiving the best value for money, that they are getting the most accurate information, that work on the railway is being well planned, and that the industry is working to minimize disruption. And it is not only with passengers that we need to build greater levels of trust, we must also do so with freight customers, stakeholders, and taxpayers. So to boost trust, we must improve the customer experience, both in terms of delivery and by creating a better dialogue with our customers and stakeholders. And in doing so, we must also continue to expand, and in doing so, we must also continue to expand the industry's transparency. This industry is awash with information and data, information about fares, timetables, services, data about financial and operational performance. which has delivered positive outcomes for passengers, freight customers, and taxpayers, enabling accountability, empowering customers, generating economic activity, improving services. We as an industry have come a long way in the last 4 to 5 years in the area of expanding the industry's transparency. Rail settlement plan, for example, my colleagues at ATOC, making fares and timetable data freely available. Darwin Pushport, now free to everyone. Network Rail, subject to freedom of information requests. The Office of Rail and Roads annual financial report on the industry's finances becoming richer year by year. Since the Rail Delivery Group took over the lead on the industry's approach to transparency, it has kept up the pace, with David Brown, the CEO of Go Ahead, as the lead overseeing the explosion in developers signing up to use Darwin, and a rolling program to encourage train companies to publish key transparency indicators on their respective websites. If you go to this link here, this will take you through the RDG transparency page, which will give you those links. So, welcome to today's event. We are a booming industry with plenty to do to improve the customer experience and build greater levels of trust. We need your innovation and your entrepreneurial flair to make Britain's railways even better. Thanks a lot.
Just before I invite Jason up, I want to do a little straw poll. So, who in the room, please raise your hand if you have heard of or are familiar with the customer information strategy. Right, okay. So we've got about 4% of the room there, Jason. So when you give your presentation, yeah. The customer information strategy is, Jason's going to talk to you about it, but this is guiding the decisions that we're making day by day in terms of how the provision of information to customers. So Jason is Jason will.
Does this actually work?
We can get it to work.
You can.
Apparently we need some slightly better IT in our office, which is surprising considering we're here talking about data feeds.
So I was going to apologise to the people who sat behind us at LH, but you're probably the lucky ones, I guess, today. You don't have to watch us while we present.
How with this?
Oh, it's gone. Black screen.
Yeah, we're looking at a nice black screen here, so
Probably a send the display to the projector. There we go. And doubt control alt delete. Wait for it. That's a new one. Oh, yeah, it's out. Where did you go sit for the whole Hey. I know. You have to go for all of them. Yep. That one to go next.
That's a shame. So sorry, can I see a show? I missed the people that put their hands up that heard the customer information strategy. So I'm guessing some of you might have seen me present before. So I do apologise because I use all the same slides, so I don't have to think too much about what I'm going to do there. As Lindsay said, I'm Jason Dirk. I'm the head of customer information at National Rail Enquiries. Thank you all for coming. It means a lot that you're all here, far more than we had for the last event. probably about 100 times more than we would have had if we had the same event last year at this time. I do think we need to get the room right next time, make sure there isn't a killer in the middle of the room. So again, I do apologise. I might do a dance over here at some point if I feel the need, but maybe not. So I shall get on with my presentation so you don't have to listen to me cracking jokes. So the industry strategy, what is it? Well, it's basically to deliver a vision. So this is the vision for customer information. This is some work that we did in hand with Passenger Focus, now Transport Focus, back in 2008. We actually went out to our customers of rail, and asked them what they wanted us to deliver in terms of information. It's not rocket science. I know you can read, so I'm not going to read through it. I will point out the relevant aspects of it. So basically, they told us they wanted the information to be timely, relevant, accurate, and consistent. And this is what we're looking to achieve. We've got two industry work streams looking to deliver improved passenger information. So you've got PID, which is a programme of works, which is short to medium term tactical stuff. So if you hear people mention PID, that's what that is. That's about improving passenger information during disruption. And we've also got the customer information strategy, which obviously is longer term strategical deliverables that underpin everything that we're trying to achieve really in terms of delivering the vision, and also underpins a lot of the developments that we can move forward through PID as well. So in terms of the strategy, so this is longer term and therefore it needs a longer time frame. We've been working on it since 2011. There are 28 identified projects to deliver the overall strategy and to deliver to the vision. 8 of those projects were already planned and already funded. 20 of them were unplanned and were unfunded. And we put a finger in the air and guesstimated that to deliver those it would be about £200 million. It's a lot of money to invest in improving customer information. I'm sure you agree. Someone sat there with their mouth open then, I see. Lots and lots of money, lots of investment needed. That was written into the industry plan for the current control period. So that actually went into the DFT as a plan for us to deliver as an industry for this control period, which is 2014 to 19. So then we looked at ways that we could actually best deliver that. I mean, that's a lot of work over 5 years, spending £200 million, probably unachievable actually for one team to deliver. So we came up with different ways of cutting it, and the favoured idea was to develop a core architecture, which is just 5 projects, centrally delivered by our team at a cost of £21 million, which is fully funded through the DFT. That leaves 15 projects to deliver. £180 million it would cost to deliver those roughly, and obviously they need to be delivered to realise the full benefit of the customer information strategy. So what are the core projects? They are really to develop a central architecture to deliver the following outputs. So first of all, consistent real-time information to station systems, consistent real-time feed of information for the use of on-train, better train location awareness, improved real-time awareness of control decisions. When people are actually cancelling trains or putting additional stops in, we know what they are. And also improved knowledge of resource availability. So this is about when you're replanning journeys in the control around where your stop and crew are for train companies. And you may have noticed that all of those probably, they do have Darwin at their very heart. So if you look at the picture around there, you've got the train movement over here on the top left, the replanning, all going into Darwin. So if we get all that feeding into Darwin, from the left-hand side, all the outputs into customer channels and staff channels, it starts to get real consistency and timeliness of the information, just as the vision says. But what is the problem? you know, we've pinpointed the need for better information, both through PID and through the strategy, but what is the real problem that we're trying to address? That is a very, very simplified version of the current industry architecture. So I sat down with the lead architects at Network Rail and we planned this out.
Can people at the back here, I'm getting some acknowledgement that people are struggling to hear at the back. Are you all right? Yeah.
Can everyone hear me?
Anyone not here?
People that aren't nodding at the back, can you hear me? Sorry? Oh yeah, this is just a diagram. So but this really demonstrates how complex it is. If you think about this here, this one screen here represents about 66 systems, and I will come on to that in a minute. But you know, if you replicate this probably between 50 and 100 times, that's what you've really got in terms of industry and trying to deliver information from the track side through all these systems into the customer domain. And because of that, we get things like this. So I do apologise, I've used this slide a number of times before. But it just goes to highlight the information that we can actually deliver with that complexity. This is an actual picture taken from someone by someone from Passenger Focus. You know, typical that they were actually on the platform when we were displaying this. I won't tell you which station it was. But the book time of the train is 14:22, destination unknown, expected at 14:30, so we know that the train's late, 8 minutes late. Calling it unknown only. I'm not sure I'd actually get on that train if it did turn up. The next one is, actually these are, I was going to say this is one of my personal favourites. All four of the ones here are my personal favourites, which is why they made it into today's slide deck. A skeletal service will run. Any clue as to what might turn up? I've no idea. This one here. So if you see the time's up here at 20:13, down here it's 10 o'clock. So the screen's actually frozen, so you don't know what's going on. If you can't read the small print here, it says our IT geniuses are working hard to get it right. And yes, we have tried turning it off and on again. And this obviously is my absolute favourite. It is a mock-up, it's not real. But it just, I think it just goes to show the lengths that our customers will go to actually show to us what they think of us. This was posted on an internet channel, and it is a mock-up, but you know, it's probably taken them quite a while, because if you don't blow it up, it looks really real actually. And strangely enough, it's actually a mock-up from my home station of Salisbury, and it wasn't me that did it. So that's the problem. What's been done? So, in terms of Darwin CIS and getting the information to stations consistent, as I said earlier, when we did some work a few years ago, and we actually identified 66 different systems at least. It was probably more than that, but those were the ones that we uncovered. 66 different systems, all giving their own predictions on train arrivals and departures. So potentially extremely confusing for the customer. If you don't know what CIS is, that's CIS for dummies. So basically, you have the train company here feeding this information to the screens, and nothing passes between one system and another. So the view that you see on one platform could be completely different from the other platforms. As I say, 66 can't fit them on there, but there were lots of them. So what changes under Darwin? Well, basically, we create a virtual CIS bubble, so it's all consistent. Darwin feeds every single station, so all the information on those stations is absolutely consistent view across the station network. And also, if you're using Darwin to develop apps as well, obviously, if you're standing there with your app, it will be exactly the same as what you see on the platform as well. So we move to a new system layout like this. So all the top systems are feeding into Darwin, which then feeds out to the CIS. So complete consistency. In terms of the other projects, we've developed a Darwin PIS feed, and this is live on a first whole train service.
What's PIS?
Passenger information system. Well done, Lindsay. Thank you. I only put that out there because I couldn't fit everything onto that title. Don't know who these guys are, but I bet they're glad they sat there as people were taking photos, because this was the maiden voyage. 10:22 out of King's Cross. I forget the date. I think it was the 10th of March. It's only live on one train. There are only 5 screens on there. We are looking to roll it out across the whole first whole trains fleet. It's about 5 trains. But we are looking now at developing full industry versions. So we're looking at the high level designs now. This was just a proof of concept. It does work. It works in real time. If you can find out which train it's on, feel free to get on there. We've also, in terms of the better train location awareness, we've developed a GPS gateway with Network Rail. This is a proof of concept version as well, really. It takes the information in and delivers it straight through to Trust, which is an industry movement reporting system owned by Network Rail. And then we take the feed from Trust directly into Darwin. So it's a bit of a piece of string and some sellotape solution, really, in terms of what the industry would need to take all the trains onto it. So we've done 3 trials. We did a trial on the Whitby line in late 2013. We did a trial on the East Coast June last year, and we've done a trial with ScotRail in January of this year as well. And we've actually proved that we can get data, movement data from the train directly into Darwin in less than a minute. So pretty good, really, you know, for as I described, a piece of sellotape and string. You know, not too bad at all, really. The other 2 projects, one, the improved real-time awareness of control decisions. This is really, you know, I did it in terms of what the benefits were, but we're calling that the interface from the traffic management system directly into Darwin. So when controllers do make amendments to their trains, when the traffic management system is live, we will take them directly into Darwin in real time. So we'll have an understanding or a better understanding of the control decisions, and they will flow directly into the customer systems. And the last one is basically interfacing the top stock and crew resource systems into the traffic management system. So obviously, traffic management is now been put back to next summer. So you know we're a bit further behind with the development of these, but we are talking to Network Rail and the TOCs about the data exchange and what kind of data we need to flow through the systems. But when these 2 have started, we'll start to see a much better quality of information flowing through into Darwin as a consequence. So that's basically the core. So at the start, I said it was 200 million. We've got just over 20 million pounds worth of funding. There is that 180 million pounds gap in essence. So what does that still need to be done? So lots of other projects. And for example, real-time passenger loading. If we know how many people are on the train, how many people are on which carriage, we can start to advise people through apps, for example, where they should stand on the platform to get a seat, if they can walk through the train when they're on it to get a seat. I know that guards do make announcements to tell people to move, but they don't generally, and you've had to walk through the whole length of the train to find out where the seats are first. So things like that. Real-time booking and seat reservations. So if you're on a train and there's some seats there and you want to book one to make sure that on a long distance journey no one comes on and takes that seat. You do that. Improved wayfinding at stations. I'm not going to go through examples of them, but these are the types of things that the strategy can actually explore. But really, lots and lots of whizzy apps that you guys can help us deliver. It is I'll put a cheesy line at the end. Basically, the things you guys are experts in, but you are. For me, the strategy is about harnessing a centralized architecture, which is why we decided to do it that way, and then open up the data for you guys to actually develop the things that our customers can benefit from. And not just by using Darwin, but by using all of the data feeds. And Lindsay will tell you about those in a minute, no doubt. I haven't actually seen this presentation, so But that's me. If you've got any questions, you can either ask me now, or I will stick around for the coffee break later to talk to me later. Has anyone got any questions? No? No? Go on. It does actually feed into Darwin. It feeds through Trust. So the feed goes into Midway. The way that it goes into P2, into Trust, and then Darwin takes the feed from Trust. In terms of developing the industry solution, we are looking for the high level design to be completed within the next few months, and then we'll probably go out to tender to get someone to build it. So within the next year and a half, I guess. But the current solution will take more trains. So we've only got about 20 trains feeding into it. It will take significantly more than that. We're looking to ramp that up. So we're talking to some of the tops at the moment about putting extra feeds in there so that we can start to see the improved movement before we develop the national solution.
You said there was 15 other projects that you were looking to get funded. Are any of them related to fares, or is it all to do with train times and availability of seats and that kind of real-time journey planning stuff?
We're not looking to get them funded.
Yeah.
I mean, I expect that those projects will be delivered through innovation, through retendering.
Okay, so that's sort of a nominal value of what the development would be worth. Okay.
In terms of answering, I think there was one in there about fares, but predominantly they were about improved information around the journey.
Hello. The items done on the last page, the passenger loaded reservations. Is there any? I appreciate how long the piece of screen, but is there any sort of time scale on those at all?
This is the challenge for you guys. When are you going to do this for us? When are you going to do this for your customers? Develop a whizzy app that you can sell. You can make loads of money out of it, and the industry benefits as a consequence. We're not looking to do any of these centrally.
Right.
You know, the hope is that through innovation and through the things that you guys can do, you actually help to propagate new systems and lots of innovative ideas that can benefit either through new franchising or just through developing your own app and selling it on the App Store. Really.
Yeah, I can see a lot of people taking pictures of this slide.
There was a guy over here that wanted to ask.
We will send out a slide deck afterwards, so there's no need to take pictures of the slides.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask, the National Rail Enquiries plan to continue providing the information that it's always historically done, with the website and you mentioned those 20 other services for it. Stuff that we can develop.
Yeah.
We can obviously do the website as well. Are we competing against the National Rail Enquiries or alongside? Is that something that
We got no plans to stop providing our business to customer part of the service. But we, the way that we look at it is that there are three strands to what we do. We provide information to customers. We provide information to businesses in terms of B2B, but we also provide a service in terms of giving you the data feeds so that you can use them, develop, even more innovative solutions that we probably wouldn't want to invest in centrally. The whole purpose of developing the core is to give you all the data, good quality data to actually develop.
I'm not suggesting you shouldn't. I'm just saying because you've always been the sole provider, whereas as we move forward, now that you're also providing the data as well as providing the sort of official information, free information, which I think you probably always should be an official provider. But I wonder sometimes, is there a conflict of interest in it? Well, no, as I say, I think you should.
Is that a rhetorical question, or do you want me to answer?
I guess.
I think that there comes a point where, our level of innovation is behind yours. Yeah, you know, we're a small team. There are hundreds and hundreds of developers out there that can actually, you know, have ideas that we would never have.
Are there any plans to open up the advance fares in real time so that one can see how many tickets are available for an advance fare without having to sign up for them?
About that later on.
We'll talk about that later on. I don't know the answer.
Just for the benefit of everyone, there's a session later on where we'll cover that, and also there's a session at the end where we will take requests and suggestions from developers. So if that is something that a lot of you feel the same way about, then I would like to do a straw poll of the room to kind of understand what numbers there are and feed that back to internally and see what comes of it.
Yeah, sorry. Just jump into the other side of Darwin on its inputs. How much? I know it said in its inputs, but how much projection on the resource capital and the cost of property?
Discussion stages really, because this is, you know, there are 5 projects that we're only a small team, yeah, and we are reliant on other things happening before we can really start to ramp it up. So we're in the discussion stage really about what exchange of data that we would like to see, whether it's one way, 2-way, you know, what would be in the feed, basically, nothing more than that really.
So it's a small team. How big is the team?
1, 2, 3, 4 at the moment.
So 4 of you spending £20 million.
So the Darwin CIS program costs about just under half of that. Yeah, so we've got just over half left to do the other 4 projects. I mean, essentially they're interface projects, aren't they? So, you know, we develop a specification and then go out to tender for somebody to do it. But yeah, we are a small team, very lean.
The projects you mentioned up here, you said unplanned and unfunded. Any progress you've made on them is possible to make them available to us so we can kind of build on those ideas?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, if you want to so I mean I can send you we can send out the full customer information strategy with all the commercials taken out. That's not a problem at all. We can make that available somewhere. But I mean, from my point of view, we're concentrating on delivering the 5, and of course, the industry requirement to deliver the whole strategy is to deliver all of those. I mean, but there might be more than that. I mean, this was written 3 or 4 years ago, and technology has advanced since then. But I guess if developers don't actually start to develop the solutions that we need, we might need to start cherry picking off the ones that would actually see the advances in information within the industry a bit quicker. But you know, my desire is that, you know, developers in the community would actually start to do this stuff for us.
Hi.
How many questions? You can have one each. You can have one each.
There was a chap over there asked a question about conflict of interest, and I actually thought it was quite a sensible question, to be honest, and I can understand why developers would proceed with caution, because historically NRE has been quite hostile towards developers. It used to cost a lot of money, it wasn't free. So I suppose my question is, why would you rather people use our apps than your own app, which you make money from?
We don't make money from it.
But they make money from the advertising of that.
Millions.
Just from the back of the room, I guess there's a realization internally that every single user, every person is different, and the way they want to access information is different. And with all the will in the world, we can't possibly design or build something that suits every single user's requirements. And the key for us is that the customer gets information in the way that they want it, in a timely way, in an accessible way. And we're driving towards the strategy, and the strategy dictates that we have to provide it openly so that people who can innovate, people who are agile, can create the technology at the pace that the users want to use it. And if we don't provide it openly, then we will never be able to keep up with the pace of demand. So I think that change in culture has come into the organisation, and I think a lot of that's down to the man up front there. So,
what tension have we got? Is there a government mandate that says that you have to provide this to us, or is it you can pull the rope from under us at any point or start charging us?
I think again we're probably in a position where because so many people have access, because so many people are building businesses on it, should someone come along that tries to change the stance, it wouldn't be allowed to happen, because
it would put us in an extremely poor position.
And I can't see the leaders of the industry going back on that now. And what is driving the industry here is the need to continue to attract more passengers and get more revenue. Government support for this industry is declining, and the shortfall is being filled by money from passengers. As I say, from the growth in passengers rather than increasing fares on the whole. So it's really important that we continue to attract more people to this industry. And that's the overall, what we're all trying to do in lots of different areas, not just in this area.
Can I just remind, and this is rhetorical, is that if you consider the situation as an analogy, which we all understand, of like Network Rail running their own talk. You see where, you can see where that would work.
A better example would be Transport for London, who don't publish an app, so nobody feels like they're competing against the providers of the data, whereas because you do publish an app,
TfL are looking at developing their own app
situation. Sorry, TfL. Yeah.
bringing up the map now.
Okay. No, I mean, that's fair enough, but they historically had always said that they wouldn't. Precisely that reason.
Vernon Everett's line was, "We are experts at running trains, not experts at building apps." But before we provided Darwin openly, we were experts at providing information about when trains run, and the provision of the data that powers our own systems, making that available to everyone has become part of what we do, and it isn't all of what we do. We will continue to provide that information to customers. We have an obligation as the association to provide an impartial view of what's happening on the rail network, a balanced and fair view. So we will give a whole industry customer-centric view of what's happening on the network. And that's a big part of our remit. So I can't see that changing in the future.
I mean, my own personal opinion is that we waited too long to open the data to you guys.
And just do you get the data? I believe you get the data from a third party. So the data comes from them to you and then to us. Isn't there I understand where you're coming from. As you say, Lindsay, you've been doing this forever. So this is what you do, and this is what you've done. This is your residential. But you get the data from no one else, and then give it to us. And then you hope that what you give it to us, you make money, a lot of money. And I'm just saying that I'm really grateful for the way that the industry is progressed, and this is available. Yeah. But I can see that there will be friction. And
let's look at it another way. The money that comes in is an aid of trying to make this a cost neutral.
more reason just
so if we just provided the data, then we have lots of costs and we have more money coming in. So, but irrespective of that, I think what we've done now is a massive step forward. And you say we get data from a third party, we actually get data from every single top, and we consolidate it in one place. But it's the only system in the industry where all of the data is consolidated in one place and then spat out as a single feed. So that's the reason why it goes through multiple channels. If we didn't do that, we'd all be trying to get access to 66 individual CIS systems, Rail, Rail, and various other systems, and then trying to join it all together yourselves. So the fact that we make it available as information rather than data.
I think this is what NRE should be the strategic collator of the data. This potential or possible conflict of interest is always there while we're putting that information out. There needs to be an authority for a clear information. If someone comes to my website and says, what's the time? Give me the time. Well, the best I can do is I said, well, if you want it to be, if you want the official word, it's national good time, or it's later. There's always going to be that. But I would say, it's sort of rhetorical.
Can I just get into the operational side of things? I actually think the data is from a whole level key where it's chargeable. Data financial information system a lot more good. But just on that point, I would ask about the reliability or the service level that is sitting underneath this. So when Darwin goes offline, when NRE goes down, it tends to go down for a long, I would say a long time, an hour or so in the middle of the day, which plays havoc with systems that are trying to sort of buffer things and report things. And I just wanted to get your view on whether you're addressing that.
Can you hold that question till the techie guys get here after the break?
Good question. It may be an area of budgetary requirement as well. Much money invested in it.
I can give it on a high level. There are a number of reasons why it happens. Sometimes trusting people go down and rail feeds, and as a result, our systems don't display real-time information. The same systems go down, it's reported as a P1 service issue, and people are working on it straight away and trying to resolve it. So it's not a case of it goes down and there's a bit of a lag period before people try and address it. We try and address it straight away, and we're seeking a resolution straight away. That's because our systems are connected to all of that.
Well, that's why I asked for it to be answered by a technical expert, because you're answering it from a non-technical point of view. And the thing is that the strategy is looking to build upon the feeds that we already take off from Network Rail. TD.net does go down quite frequently, which underpins all of the movement data that we take into Darwin. If we move to a position where we're taking GPS and the hierarchy changes because we know exactly where the train is, we can take that feed in directly. We don't need it to go via Network Rail. So therefore, if their TDs go down, we can still run Darwin. But I do think a technical person could answer that question a lot better than I can. But the thing is that at the moment we are completely reliant, well, not completely reliant, but almost wholly reliant on Network Rail's movement data. And if that goes down, then all the systems go down. It's not just Darwin; it's all Network Rail systems as well. We can move to a position where we're not reliant on them, we're in a better position.
Going back to the conflict of interest part, as part of some form of long-term strategy, would it not be more sensible to say the information that we provide in the NRE app and on the NRE website, sort of thing, is easily accessible in Darwin? And since that is the most important part that people do use the information for, if you truly want developers to then sort of take on the roles and sort of develop more advanced things, that you will sort of never get people to fully move away from the NRE information because they see that as something more reliable, even though it is based on exactly the same sort of data, exactly the same data set, and that it would be a good idea to look at possibly phasing it out over a longer period of time to say to the customers, look, we want people to be able to, we want some form of competition. There's this app that will perform these sorts of things that are useful to you, this app that will do something else for you, sort of thing. But until NRE sort of moves away from the actual customer side and moves towards the just providing the data, that there will always be that sort of not wanting to develop anything from the developer's side of view, because how do you then attract the customers when they've already got something that they sort of see does most of what they wanted to do?
Yeah, I completely understand that, and I don't know what our longer term strategy is. We may well just become a B2B business at some point, but it is, I think that's it's largely down to the challenge that I've put to you guys about developing stuff. Is it, if you can develop quickly and you can develop the solutions that the customers want, and prove that they don't need us anymore, and it's just a cost base, we probably could move away from it. It's a chicken and egg, that one, I think.
Okay, I think we'll move on to the next presentation, which is
Thank you. I will stick around for the coffee break if anyone else has any questions.
thank you very much, Jason. Was that new information for a lot of you, or was that stuff you already were familiar with? New. Generally? Good. Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of a run through of all the data feeds we've got available currently. I will talk about our open data roadmap, which is actually quite short, but it's good for you to have visibility of that. And then we'll look a little bit at how the license conditions have developed and where we are now with licensing. And before I start, right, so we've got 3 engines where the feeds derive from. So can I get a show of hands if you are familiar with or you are users of knowledge base feeds? Right. And okay, so these are the knowledge base feeds that we've got. I'll go into that in more detail. What about Darwin feeds? Who's a user of Darwin? Predominantly, good portion of the room. And OJP, online journey planner, the real-time journey planning web service, or the disruptions web service, is it? This one's a new feed. Okay, good. I'm not going to bore you all to death then. Let's start with OJP. So OJP is our journey planning and fares engine. It combines data from IPTIS and the National Reservation System, NRS. Does anyone know what IPTIS is? I do not know what IPTIS is. Anyone else? Right, IPTIS is a Silver Rail system. It's the journey planning engine. It doesn't belong to us. It belongs to Silver Rail.
What's it stand for, Lindsay?
Integrated Passenger Transport Information System. It's yeah, so our real-time journey planning web service calls their system and then returns the information. So that actual engine, a lot of people think it belongs to us. It doesn't. Both of these feeds are available by license. The disruptions web service is non-charged. The RTJP web service, we have cost recovery charges. We get charged per inquiry. We pass that on to you guys. But we don't take a profit on that at all. It's a pass-through cost. Both of those feeds are SOAP APIs, like the Darwin web service. The disruptions web service. Okay, has anyone heard of the disruptions web service before? I'd be surprised if you did because we just launched it. Right, it consolidates data about disruptions from each of the 3 engines. So you get the station messages from Darwin. You get the bulletin information that you get from the online journey planner. And you get contextual disruption information from 3 places in knowledge base. So you've got the National Service Indicator, your service status, your links to contextual information about that disruption, and this, which is our instance XML, which gives you a whole heap of contextual information, alternative route maps, etc. And also station messages. So the train companies, they manage certain content in our databases, and they have access to do that. One of those things is stations. They manage the content about their own stations, about the facilities. If they have an instance where, for example, the lifts are out of order or something's not working, or there's been a renovation and the map's out of date, they can put an alert message on there. So the web service will return that data as well. You can make inquiries about disruption by station, by talk, by line of route, all number of ways. So it's a lot more flexible than the previous incident-related feeds we had. So knowledge base, second.
Can I just ask a quick question about the incident?
Yeah.
How real time is the data? So if a train gets stuck, how quickly can we post that information?
Almost within 20 minutes, I think is the, something around that. So when something happens, the train companies and Network Rail send information, communicate via time rail and whatnot. We have a team of people in a place called the NRCC in Doncaster, the National Rail Communication Centre. They consolidate all the information, they validate the information's correct, and then they type it up into a customer-friendly message. Jason knows how long that takes to. What sort of timescales are they put to for publishing messages?
It depends, right? So under bid, there are different thresholds where the train companies will go to a heightened level of information, but they're not consistent with every top. So one might set their threshold at 5 minutes if it's a commuter top in the start of the day. A long distance top might set it at half an hour. So in terms of the length of the delay that has to be ongoing, that's different. In terms of them reporting that, and that appeared on our website, the SLA with our contractor is 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So pretty good. Pretty good to get a contextual reason around why the disruption has happened. So give you a little bit about knowledge base. Knowledge base is literally the content engine that holds the engine that holds all of our content on the NRE website. The data is held as an XML file on a web page. That's how you get access to it. Example, this is the instance XML. There's your Twitter hashtag, the data coming out. There's the stations page. The URL will take you to that data feed. It's updated by TOPS and the NRCC, National Rail Communication Centre. You get access to this by IP address whitelisting. So it requires you to have a static IP address, which we could probably talk about later because I know that's been raised in the past. That's a problem. Basically, we whitelist your IP address, then you can see the data. I know for app developers that isn't necessarily the most friendly way of doing things, so I'm happy to field questions on that this afternoon. I'm going to talk a little bit about ticket types and restrictions now because there's a big program of work going on about the rationalization of information about tickets. So what's off-peak? What is off-peak? Does anyone know what time off-peak starts at?
It depends. If it's an 8A, it's off-peak all the time.
Well, it's completely different, exactly, for every train, for every company, for every station, and whether you're going north or south, it varies for every ticket. What about any permitted route?
That's the best one.
I'm going from King. If I'm going, yeah.
Permitted routes are in the fares information, which isn't publicly viewable.
It is publicly viewable. IKB and the restrictions information XML, which I'm about to tell you about. Yeah. So we have a new XML, right? So this is a ticket. This is all the space you got in the ticket. This is an example of the typical restrictions on any given route. How are you going to fit that in a ticket? You're not. So we provide that information through restrictions XML, so you can get, and that's a new feed. You can get it there, but we've also got a program of work going on to rationalize that information, to reduce or to increase the number of ticket codes, to reduce the amount of restrictions on each code. And so that will reflect in the restrictions XML as and when it's updated in that ongoing process. So Darwin. Jason gave a lovely piece about Darwin, so I can be quite quick. It's the official engine that powers NRE and top channels. You see the NRE website, TransPennine Express website. Consistency there. Populates the information on CIS screens, as Jason told you about earlier. And you all know it's available as a host pipe feed and as a web service. Does everyone know about the push port? Anyone not know about the push port? Oh, there's a host pipe feed called the push port. and it just pushes all of the content from Darwin. I've got the links on here, so when you get the presentation at the end, all the links to access our information and the relevant emails are on there. So this is our open data roadmap. This is what we've done so far. Web service release. The push port was released in March, and the timetable feed, which is simply the ability to filter the push port so you're not taking such a large volume of information, that was released on the 2nd of June. So if it's just schedule changes you're after and you're not interested in the prediction information, you can get that from the Darwin timetables. You can now add filtering. So these are the next two. We've got the Darwin Web Service staff version. Who's heard of the staff version? Anyone not know what the staff version is? Right. It's basically a web service that returns the same information that you get in the push port. It's not, there's a lot more work. It's a lot richer content, but it saves you having to interpret the push port. Rather, you can just ask a question and get a much richer set of information sent back to you. So we are looking at the possibility to put the Darwin Web Service staff version on the Open Data Portal, but also put the knowledge base feeds on the Open Data Portal so that you get rid of that IP whitelisting restriction, and it's it's much more developer friendly. So I will ask a specific question about that later on, because I'd love to get your feedback to take back in-house. There's the next two, the Disruptions Web Service and the Stations Web Service. They're not currently in scope. We haven't currently put any proposals forward to do these two. I'd like to ask you guys later if it's something you're interested in, if there's any point in us doing it, if you'd like it. RTJP Web Service, it's not our system. We can't make it open. We're under license for using the information, and we can continue providing that under license conditions, but it's not in scope for being an open data feed. Any questions on the open data on the roadmap? Okay, this is the slide I mentioned a minute ago. Refer back to this one if you need to know where or how to access the feed. Darwin Web Service, Darwin Push Ports, the rest of the feeds are by license. So license requests to infoservices@nationalrail.co.uk. I'm just reusing this slide because I made it a while ago and I quite like it.
You're maybe going to come on to this, but you said that the access fees of these feeds is by license and by sending you an email or asking for permission. But I believe that there's going to be an automated service, which, in my opinion, would be far better.
Far better. Well, that's what I'm going to ask you about at the end. It's under consideration to move the knowledge base XML and the staff version of the Darwin Web Service onto this automated system so that people can get automated access. But again, it's something that we haven't got allocated budget for, and it would have to be taken in as a proposal. So I need to understand what the likelihood is of uptake and whether or not you guys will actually use it, or if you actually want it. Is it worth us investing to do that? And I need that knowledge if I'm going to make any suggestions. So a year ago, right? This is us a year ago, this guy. And then this is us today, pretty much. This is for access to Darwin. Much better. Much better. Get as much use out of that slide as I can. Version history. Okay, we have amended the first version. Well, we've got 3 versions. This is the first version. It was launched on the 1st of June. We had a developer day in July last year, about 11 months ago, and the feedback we got was it was very one-sided and onerous. We had the right to cut you off as soon as we decided we didn't like you anymore. we had the right to change the terms and conditions without consulting you, and you would automatically be signed up to those terms and conditions, whether you like it or not. We could have slapped charges on there, you've been charged, could have done anything. It was very one-sided, so to us, we didn't feel like they were one-sided because we were trying to keep it, we wanted to protect ourselves. But having met a lot of you guys and a lot of other independent people, Giacomo's help, we got to a position, a much friendlier position with version 2. We launched version 2 in October, and it took account of the feedback that developers gave us at that developer day. And on the 31st of March, we removed all high volume usage charging for the Darwin push port. So anyone can take Darwin data and use predictions at no cost. The only charge remaining for Darwin is 5 million requests a period to the web services, and that is a below cost recovery charge. We are launching version 3 this week, and they've been approved, and they've been uploaded on the website, and I'm just waiting for workflow to push them through and publish them. And I'm going to tell you a bit about the amendments, where we've come from and where we're at. We have a clause about Darwin forecasts, and the clause was initially in the first term that you had to ensure that the display of information was accurate. But then we got questioned, but what happens if Darwin isn't accurate? Does that mean we're in breach of your license because we're displaying information that's inaccurate that you gave us? So do we have to correct that information? So it wasn't really a good choice of words. So we've changed it to display forecasted information that is consistent with Darwin forecasts where you use Darwin in your products. And a lot of that is down to what Jason was talking about earlier, was having a centralized source of information that gives that consistency, that allows us all to be working off one single customer message, one consistent customer message. The next one was platform numbers. This is another little contentious one. People like to know where the train's going to be. They want to know before everybody else. They want to be able to sneak their way to the platform so they can get on and get the table seat because they've got work to do on the way home. And all the table seats are normally booked up. Or something of that nature. Not going from my own experiences. Again, we use the clause to ensure that information is accurate. But we've now changed that to the time-bound display of time-bound data and must follow the guidance in the feed. The reason we are keeping that clause in the terms and conditions is we are required by the train companies to follow the directions in the feed about when to display platform numbers. And that's specifically important when you're looking at origin and destination stations. So you've got an origin station, and if you have remove that clause. Your next but nobody knows it because what I'm going to tell them is on you. So Jonathan was very, very firm on this. We had a clause in there that said, if you use Darwin data, then all downstream users of your product, you are responsible for them if they do something fraudulent with the data. We didn't word it like that, but the ultimate meaning meant that we could hold people responsible for downstream users of an app or a website that committed fraud using their channels. So we've refined it. We've removed the downstream liabilities and we've focused the liability on the user of the data themselves. So we are now saying you must not use the information for any unlawful purpose or promote unlawful use of the information through your end user products, which is, I think, quite fair and quite simple. You are responsible for your own actions. If you break the law, then you're in breach of the conditions. Developer guidelines. We had attached a clause to the developer guidelines which said if you you have to comply with the developer guidelines as a license condition of accessing Darwin. The problem with that is a lot of the information in the developer guidelines was guidance. It said it was wishy-washy. It said we like you to do things like this, we don't like you to do things like that. So, branding. Well, that's ridiculous, really, because what if I've got 10 bits of information populating on map and I've created this map? Do I have to stick a logo next to every single piece of information? So again, we'll divide that and we allow attribution on an attribution page in the event that it's not practicable to display the logo alongside the data. Finally, variation, the one I spoke about earlier on, we could revise the clause, we could revise the terms and conditions at any time without notice, and you would automatically be transferred onto the new terms without agreeing to them. The new terms state that you can stay on the terms that you originally signed up for, and if you choose to move to the new terms, you need to contact us with your intention to do so. So that is the changes to the terms and conditions that are being published today. Any questions on the terms and conditions?
Just out of interest, what is the
Does the branding requirement still say that you have to have a powered by National Rail Enquiries logo? Because I was thinking in some scenarios that could be confusing. Say you'd taken the Darwin timetable feed, but it implemented your own journey planner on top of it. So it's kind of the powering kind of from the algorithm for planning the journey and all would be your own, but I could having to put Darwin logo with a clickable link or something.
Yeah, we can certainly look at changing the logo. Is that something that we are getting that a lot of people would agree with, that powered by can be confusing? Yes. That's the a scenario where you've got a model to identify our predictions versus the actuals to try and improve the data, trying to improve our data. But for us, the most important thing is trying to get it right centrally. There's no use everyone going out and improving a little bit here and improving a little bit there and improving a little bit here. But it's only improving on that outside feed. If all of that knowledge goes into the central Darwin system, then everybody benefits from it. And ultimately the customer benefits from it. And the main concern for us is that the customers get the best possible information.
Sorry, it's saying that if we have a better algorithm, we just have to inform you about that.
Yeah. If you use Darwin data in your products, then it has to be Darwin forecasts.
Would that apply to a route plan as well?
Yeah, if it's using real time.
I would suggest you look for innovation, especially with wet people in there.
You don't have to show information if you don't want to. Yeah. But if I find a way to show information that Darwin doesn't provide, and then Darwin starts providing information, then I can't present my information. I have to switch to presenting Darwin. It would be fine. So I don't think it's fair to innovate, and then Darwin does the same thing but worse. Use word version of Darwin's part.
Yeah. I think this is probably one that that I was expecting to get some feedback on, if I'm honest. It's one that has been getting batted back and forth for a long time, and the fundamental reason we're doing it is through the DFT, we've just funded a project to link every system in the UK that provides the real-time train running information. And if we then allow our license conditions to say, okay, use Darwin, but also you don't have to use our predictions, use your own predictions. We're getting lots of different versions of Darwin, providing lots of different predictions, lots of different forecasted arrival and departure time. Part of what we do, we hold working group meetings with all of the train companies, looking at improving the information that's displayed on screen, improving the quality and the consistency of information. And with all of that happening centrally, gradually the information that's coming out of Darwin gets better and better and better. And with it being completely free, anyone can use that. If you have any issues, you can submit them centrally and we can build on that centrally. There's not a scenario that exists that you have full access to that. I'll give you an example. One of the positions we arrive in is we use heuristics to identify when a train might possibly make up a bit of time based on the previous journey, based on the fastest possible amount of time it can get from A to B. A lot of the other prediction engines use a linear model. So if it's 12 minutes delayed at King's Cross going to Aberdeen, it's going to be 12 minutes delayed at every station all the way up to Aberdeen. So you're in a position where Darwin, because of those industry working groups, will always show the earliest possible departure time. Much better, right? But what about the 2 times? And an accuracy perspective, but with the customer at the forefront. And this is based on every train company's operating staff observing day to day to day to day how their customers are responding to their information. So that is where this is coming from. It's not coming from a desire to control everything. It's coming from a desire to get it right for the customer. And if you can buy into that, then that is where we're trying to get to.
Interested in paying us for that information. We had like lots and lots of users, and we had their GPS coordinates, and we knew what service they were on, and you had a web service that we could feed that information into. Would you pay for that information?
Pay for
Which
information
to feed back into
specifically?
Darwin by a crowdsourced positional information? Because if you're not going to allow people to display it themselves, I'm trying to find a way in which developers can innovate and then send that information back to you, and it's worth their while.
Yeah, if you guys can find ways of improving the accuracy and the quality of information in Darwin, we were definitely listening. Definitely listening. 100%.
Jason was saying earlier about hoping that innovation could cater for all kinds of diverse types of users and different types of passengers who had different requirements from the journeys. And then going back to what you're saying about Darwin always requiring to show the earliest possible, like I agree that well to say a commuter line was maybe a train every 10 minutes and some it's not a big problem because they just have to wait 10 minutes to the next train. But I think it's a good example of how different types of passengers could have different requirements, and having a one size fits all that you always have to use the earliest possible prediction falls down a bit.
So let me see if I got you right there. Are you suggesting that you show is there scope to show the earliest possible prediction that comes from Darwin and punctuality? How often is this information correct? Measure beside that, or that sort of thing. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well,
I
wasn't really suggesting anything in particular. I was just pointing out an example of where it didn't really apply. Where you were saying that you worked with the train companies and come up with this policy that it always should be the earliest possible time, and I thought that wasn't always appropriate, and also tied in with what Jason said.
What I'd like to do is just hold that discussion for a minute, because we have a full session at the end where we will revisit requests and suggestions and requirements of developers, and we can properly document reasons and suggestions and concerns, so that when I take this back, I have it verbatim what the issues are that you're seeing, rather than me trying to remember it all and then regurgitate it at a later date. Is that okay with everyone? Happy for that? Okay. We've got some more coffees and whatnot, so we'll have a short break before we start back up again. Thank you very much.
We set them up outside so we didn't interrupt the meeting. We'll open the doors and come outside.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. So,